Okay, so we're live now on YouTube as well. Uh, so today's topic is how to go about obtaining retainers aggregating to 50,000 rupees or more per month. Uh, Before I go further, it'll be great if some of you can start sharing with me what you do, how much experience you have. Are you working in a job? Are you a student? Are you practicing independently? It'll be great to know that from you. And please mute yourselves when we have a opportunity to. We will have discussions from time to time. That time you can speak, but feel free to communicate with me on chat. So, who is this for? Okay. Now, this webinar is for litigators who want to earn a supplementary income and who are experiencing that during the lockdown there has been a reduction in the matters because courts are not operating at not taking matters except urgent matters because of limitation in the kinds of hearing that are happening before various forums. Some forums are completely shut also. Independent practitioners who want to grow their practice, take up new clients, okay, convert, get new matters, translate those matters into retainerships. Okay, that's the second category of people that this is for. Young lawyers who are working under a senior, you may have been impacted by the lockdown by the past 2 3 months, who want to earn a supplementary income. You want to get your own clients and earn an income. This webinar is for you. Law students who want to start preparing, this may not directly be for you. I don't want to exclude you, I don't want to be rude, but you can use this, to get an idea of things. And definitely if you want to get your own clients and want to help people, you can practice some of the strategies we discussed right now. Okay, so you may be able to help get a few clients, get a few friends who want help, and you can charge them for the work you do. You can't sign off as a lawyer, but you can definitely charge a stipend or some amount for the help you provide to them. And that also can be anything. It could be 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, depending on the kind of work you have. Okay, now imagine this. Before we go into the details, what would your life look like if you have an additional 50,000 income? So some of the values you'll experience in your life are flexibility, free time. Some free time to rest could be there because you decide when to work, when not to work. You have flexibility on that. You have autonomy because these are your own clients. This is independent work, so you have a lot of decision making and autonomy with you. And you have some supplementary income in addition to what you earn from your senior or uh, from your job. Okay, or if you're working, if you're studying in college, you have a supplementary income, and which enables you to buy the kind of things you want, or take up, I don't know, whatever expenses you want to incur, you have an additional income. So in the next hour you will have, so think of the kind of stuff you can actually do with an additional 50,000 per month income. This is very important because this is going to be what's going to drive you to achieve this. And in the next 1 hour we are going to look at a few clear actions that you can take, okay, to get started on this. Now, those of you who stay in this webinar for the entire duration, I'm going to share a couple of links with you. There will be a free list of 20 or a few more than 20 free services you can offer to startups, and links of 2 to 3 videos on how to actually what these services are, how to go about offering these, and a tool that we call a roadmap. So how do you go about preparing a roadmap? There's a video of that as well. You will get links to this at the end of this webinar. Okay, now just imagine, okay, what has happened in this lockdown. Okay, and a lot of people have, and tell me if this sounds like you, like not having enough work during lockdown as courts are shut. There could be some of you may face the situation that you're being paid too little by a senior despite working very hard. Okay, and you're working 12 14 hours and you've been working for a long time, still being paid very low. Okay, 1 second, I'm going to mute everyone. Yeah. Or struggling to find new clients to give you work in this period because you can't step out. Or you've got a lot of experience having worked in law firms or in the in-house sector, but you are not able to find clients who have work that matches your experience. Okay, so your subject matter expertise may be, say, in an area uh, like let's say listed company work, list takeover code, but you're not finding clients for that, and clients are actually asking you for services like uh, tax advice, co-founder agreement advice, something on force majeure notices, contract drafting work. Okay, that kind of scenario can be there. So think of whether you are facing these situations as I am communicating with you. Okay. Now the thing is that, so how many of you are actually how many of you are able to relate with these situations? Have you faced this scenario that I want clients but I'm not able to sort of no client is coming to me, I don't know how to go out there and represent myself to a client, I don't know why a client would trust me, why would he give me work? All of those questions might be going on in your head, right? So if that sounds like you, let me know. You can say yes, this applies to me. Okay, now the good news is that these are not the real problem. Okay, it is not earning 50,000 itself which is the problem. Okay, the maths is very simple. Let me explain to you how. Okay, it's very easy for any lawyer who's got some skills. You know, you got even a couple of years of experience and understanding of what, forget years, you know, you can, let's say you can provide contract drafting services to early stage startups. Let's say you can provide IP related registration and prosecution services. Let's say you can help startups with employment policy enforcement, training, and breach of non-compete. You have mechanisms that have been designed to save this. Okay, you could have all these kinds of services. Now if you have any kind of specialized knowledge in any area, you can easily charge a client 1,000 to 2,000 rupees per hour of work. Okay, now let's do some simple maths and then we'll find out how 50,000 is not the problem. The problem lies somewhere else. Okay, so if you charge 2,000 rupees per hour of work, I'm assuming that you can do the math with 1,000 also. Now here's the money you make if you offer a retainer of 10 hours per client. Okay, so if you have a monthly retainer of 10 hours, you're charging 20,000. Okay, if you get 3 retainers, you're charging 60,000 for how many hours of work? Let's take 4 retainers. 4 retainers, you're working 40 hours in a month, charging 2,000 rupees per hour. That is 80,000. And one person works if you are assuming that you're working 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, you have approximately 190 to 200 hours. That means working 40 hours in a month, you have been able to generate 80,000. If you can get your pricing to 2,000 rupees an hour also. Okay, now that doesn't mean you're free 80% of the time. I'm saying that in the remaining 80% of the time you may have to do some thought leadership, brand building, profile building work, talking to clients to convert them, onboarding work. So there will be non-billable activities and business development activities which you will do. But still, you know, if you finish your delivery work for which you charge in 20% of your time, it leaves you with a lot of flexibility and some headroom also, that if I want to take rest sometime, I can do that. And first of all, I've only taken a 6-day week, and you know, most lawyers having a free Sunday and 8 hours of work only on any day is a big challenge, right? We are used to working 12 hours or more and 6 days of the week, sometimes a few hours on Sundays. So imagine that, like 8 hours a week, 6 days, 8 hours a day, 6 days of the week means 20% of the time. 1 week you work, you can bill 80,000 rupees. Remaining time you can put on client development and brand building and all of that. Now the maths works out to be very simple, but still it seems to be a very far distant dream. How does that happen? So the real problem here is that you've not made, there are 5 shifts that we're going to talk about now. There are these 5 steps, okay, that you need to take to be able um, to move to that situation where you're getting clients to give you work. Okay, now I just want to tell you briefly what these 5 steps will unlock for you. You will be able to identify how to reach out to new clients, open conversations with them. You'll have a system to build familiarity with them. So a lot of times the challenge is that we don't know what the client wants, so we don't know what to pitch, and we end up asking for legal work and we don't find the client to give us. And the client, you ask the client for legal work, the client says, I'll give you something, or I don't have any work, and that's the end of the matter, and you never hear back from the client. Or you hear clients who come to you, shop for the lowest deals, lowest prices, they visit 10 other lawyers, you end up giving all the advice and they never come back to you. and you feel that, literally you feel exploited, that the client came to me for so much free guidance, I did hard work, and then the client never came back to me. What happened? Okay, that's the question, right? So now you will have a system, if you make these 5 shifts, to build familiarity, know the business of the client better. So when they come to you, they say, I want this agreement done, you will instead be able to ask 5 questions, 10 questions, to understand what's the real need. Do they actually need that agreement, or do they need 3 other things? Okay, and what does the client value more, given the state of business of the client? For most lawyers, we have a little distance when we are talking to the client about their business, because we're like, no, that the client will decide. But we are unable to decide what's more important for the client, because we don't have that closeness of connection with the business of the client. So here, once we go through these 5 shifts, we will be able to identify that this is what, according to me, the client needs most. Okay, and so if there's a budget constraint, if I give him a 40,000 proposal, uh, the client and the client has only 10,000 rupees budget of 15,000, then the client can decide that, I don't want these 3 things, I want this one thing, and you can close the deal and move on. What happens then? You don't get 50,000 or 40,000, but you get 10,000. You do the first bit of work for the client, you get an inroad, and the client knows that the client can actually value your work. You are happy that, I got a client, I got paid, I delivered value, and the client knows that this is a lawyer whom I can come back for new work if needed in future. Okay, now what you need to know. So there is profitability for you. You don't feel exploited in this. Now what you need to know is that anybody who takes efforts in this area can start achieving results in a time of 3 months to 12 months. Okay, and even law students can do it. There are students in our LawSikho courses who have been actually offering services to clients uh, independently, like services around trademark prosecution, contract drafting, all of that. Okay, so when I say law students offering services to a client, take it with a pinch of salt. They're not billing you as a lawyer, like, they're not signing off on the wakalatnama. So don't go into the legal validity of it. You understand that they are actually contributing to someone. Okay, so before I go further, a little about me. Who am I to talk about this kind of work? Okay, so I want to let you know that I've been actually experimenting with a lot of new kinds of solutions over the past 10 years. So in my 4th year of law school, back in 2010, I had trained business managers along with Ramanuj. We had trained business managers of L&T on limiting risk in a 700 crore electricity automation contract from the Maharashtra government. Okay, so that was what. Now we were just students then. We were flown down from Calcutta to Bombay to actually give training to the L&T's business managers, but it exposed us to the kind of training that a business person needs on law, on different sides of it, whether it is contract related input, something on tax, something on compliance. Okay, and we realized that businesses have this need. Okay, so this was a training experience I had. I worked on an investment deal to help a friend with Ramanuj on a 50 lakh investment transaction for an IIT incubated company back in 4th year of college. I used some learnings from my internship and some of my own thinking to be able to do that work. Okay, after that, I have in the past 2 years, I've conceptualized more than 50 new courses at LawSikho aimed at what are the new needs that lawyers need to serve in the market. In 2015 to 2016, I worked on identifying productifiable solutions for money recovery and for businesses and for startups, for different kinds of solutions. Like, I want my employment management toolkit. So that's one solution. I want a money recovery toolkit. That's a solution. I need my whole ESOP plan, advisor option plan, and all of that sorted out. That was a toolkit. Okay, so we basically created productifiable solutions for startups, and that led to actually recoveries of 2 crores, and the venture hit a 7 lakh run rate per month, 7 to 8 lakh run rate per month in 7 months. Okay, so this is possible for you. This has happened for us. We later discontinued the venture. Okay, I have additionally done POSH, AML, anti-corruption, industrial relations related trainings for HR managers, uh, criminal law trainings for tax litigator, for tax lawyers, and such unconventional trainings for managers in new areas wherever the law has something new which conventionally lawyers are not doing. Those are the areas in which we venture into, and we identified that managers and businesses have a huge legal need which lawyers are currently not being able to service or not being able to service at the right kind of price point. There could be various reasons for it. Okay, the reason could be that this is not my skill, I am not trained enough, I don't know how to do this work, all of that. And which is where so as we identified these gaps, we started creating, getting industry experts together and building courses to serve these needs. Now let's look at what the old way was to actually to build a clientele for a lawyer. So what were the key elements of it? You had to wait till you were sufficiently trained by a senior lawyer, by a senior, which could take years. Okay, you would not go out to talk to people, to talk to clients. Somebody would have to find you in court or have to come to you for you to be able to take up the matter. Some lawyers who went a little aggressive, they just started asking for legal work from anyone whom they met, and many of them didn't get success. You'd wait for the good word about you to go around. You'd expect that if I argue well in court, then then I will get clients because the good word about me will go around. But it will be a few years till I get enough face time before a judge to actually make enough arguments. Okay, now this was the old way, but the big change here is that legal services market is evolving very rapidly, and new services are required by clients which lawyers don't always provide. Okay, like I'll give you an example. If you're working for a software startup, some software startups have this requirement. You would obviously help them negotiate contracts and draft their contracts, but you will also have to train the founders on what are the negatives in a contract. Like, you'll have to do a training for this. You can't just tell the client that, hey, these are the things I need to change to protect your interest, and the client won't just accept it anymore. They will say, no, explain why the change is needed, what's the change. There will be much more back and forth, more integration with not just the client's single touch point of who's briefing me, but business team, HR team, finance team. All this in as simple as a contract review work. Okay, so it is as simple as that. And I was speaking to someone who needed assistance on that, and so that's the way work has changed. You're no longer just track changing a Word document and sending a client and saying, I've done your contract, I've reviewed the contract, this is the bill, pay the bill to me. No, you are actually doing the changes. Then you're making a PPT to explain to the founders why the changes are needed, what are the changes, what are the points of implementation from the contract for the internal teams. So you need to have that kind of sort of understanding of the business. Okay, then the thing is that, so how is the market changing? So new types of services are being required by clients. As I just said, there's pressure on pricing as clients demand value. So you can't just charge like 50,000 for a single notice. If you're not a tier 1 law firm, you'll not be doing that, right? If you will not be charging just for filing a plaint. When you identify a client has a problem, there's a dispute, you say that I'll file a suit, but that suit can go on for very long, right? Why will the client engage you? The client will engage you if you are able to figure out ways to get the money out from the other side within the confines of the law. There are alternative solutions possible. Okay, now what happens is that, so there are some things which clients hold in high value, there are some things which they don't. So if you think like a traditional style lawyering, I'll file a civil suit, then I will wait, I'll file an application for temporary injunction, then I'll do this. That could be one track, but there might be other legislations which allow you to take some action. There might be something you find in IBC, there might be some IP violation you can inform the investor about. So a anticipated investment transaction could get derailed, and the other side may pay your client faster. Okay, if there's an IP violation. So there may be things and tricks you can use, which you've got to know, which is only possible if you actually understand what the client's need is. And these are very specific. So if you know what clients need, you can do that, and you don't learn this from years of experience, because every kind of experience is in a different direction. Now the thing is that by the time you acquire expertise on a particular area, if you rely on this key, I will acquire experience in years, in 5 years, then the needs of the market may change. For example, IBC practice is obviously useful, it was flourishing, but then suddenly during lockdown, because of the two notifications, the one on limiting the threshold to 1 crore and the other on suspending fresh claims. But that was, I heard recently that that was not formally notified, the suspension of claims. I'm not sure of the latest update on it. But the increment in the threshold amount from 1 lakh to 1 crore itself, okay, that reduced the flow of matter. So if you had high ticket transactions, that was great. But it was not, and 1 crore is not a very high amount. So it's possible to get those clients. But 1 lakh was a very low amount. Anybody could very easily get a client and, file an IBC case. But that stopped, right? So new services emerge very fast, and then they also uh, phase out. For example, during the lockdown, another example is employment law advisory work was so important, right? And the MHA had issued a directive that private sector should employees should not be fired and all of that. And then there was a PIL at the Supreme Court, and then you had Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh suspending all labor laws, and then Supreme Court later said that that notification is not effective. So what happened is that the whole circle turned around, and now the point is clear. So what could have been a great service earlier, you would have tried to help clients with how to manage their workforce and payment arrangements, now is no longer a necessary or useful service, because there is full 100% regulatory clarity. Okay, so the thing is that by the time, if you wait for years to acquire expertise, by the time you acquire that expertise, the market itself can change. Okay, now what's the new way to do about it? Okay, the new way is how to go to the client yourself. Okay, now how do you do that during lockdown? We'll just come to that in a moment. But you can start at any time, acquire new skills at any point in time, and deliver service. You will have to parallelly acquire new skills, deliver services, learn, acquire new skills. And it's not that everything you do is paid. Okay, so you're always in the market, talking to people, identifying problems, and we'll get to how you do that. But talking to people, identifying problems, learning the skills, delivering value. Okay, this is a circle that keeps on happening all the time if you want to get to this level. Now actually, let's see, okay, what does this new way looks like? What does this new way look like? What are the 5 shifts that I have been talking about? The first shift, okay, is to talk to potential clients to identify what the market needs. You can be where the clients are, and we're going to talk about how. And go to clients. So how could you do this? You could do this to so don't expect the clients to come to you. Don't ask them directly for work, but you can talk to business people to identify unsolved business problems, learn about their businesses. Okay, so even when you talk to a new person, just asking that what is the problem you are having with lawyers, that's probably a very direct pointed question for a first conversation. You actually need to identify how the business really works, how they make money, who are the people, uh, who are the entities that they have contracts with, what are the important business relationships, what is their interface with customers, what is the regulatory aspect where they need to comply with important regulations, what are the litigation related risks. So you need to do like a risk mapping, right? Now imagine this, okay, if you so you need to learn all this, and the first conversation you have with someone has to be just about their business, how they do it. Like, you're the student learning about the business, but people may want to talk about it with you. Why? Because you're a lawyer and you're having this for free, right? And you are saying that you want to help them. Okay, now for example, one of our students started reaching out to brands on Instagram, okay, because he was interested in taking up uh, trademark prosecution related work, trademark registration and prosecution related work. And what he found out was that a lot of brands, so trademark work will be for brands mostly, right? And these brands are actually very active on Instagram. So if he puts up a post and DMs it to the brand, or requests an introduction through Instagram, that will actually be noticed. And lawyers are not reaching out to brands on Instagram. They may be reaching out on LinkedIn or email. Okay, so this strategy worked for him, and he got some matters to do that. Okay, so you got to go to the clients. Now what happens when you, even when we want to lock down on what are the, we will, let's say we are creating a new syllabus for a course we have identified and we want to teach that. So a lot of times we actually just post on our LinkedIn wall asking people to comment on what are the problems people face. Let's say with something as simple as getting internships or doing white collar crime work. These are the kinds of posts we have posted, and we do our research in parallel and we get inputs, and people say, I'm willing to talk, you can call me. Now that's a great way to actually, if you're a lawyer and you are studying a business, that's a great way to get to know clients. If you want to serve fintech startups, it's a great way to just say that I'm trying to write a few articles on the different models that fintech startups follow, and I want to talk to businessmen to understand this. You can post that, you can send this to startup founders of fintech startups on LinkedIn, and that can work. Now, what happens when you change? When you don't change, then what will happen is you're going to be close to new opportunities. You'll be bogged down by many kinds of limitations, that I am a first generation lawyer, I don't have these skills, I don't have enough contacts, I am not from an NLU. Okay, the inertia and the resignation will not enable you to try out new things. Clients will not be coming to you. Okay, but what happens when you change? When you actually accept the idea that I can learn about what the market needs and I can do it, then you are actually able to identify new opportunities. You're open to it. And one of the things you got to do on this way is drop all baggages about being a second generation lawyer, whatever baggage there may be. Okay, maybe that I don't have enough experience, or I have experience of a kind, like I have experience in competition law work, but I want to do contracts and I don't have any experience. Doesn't matter. Or I'm a banking finance lawyer, I don't know anything about technology, how do I get into it? I can't do these things. No, get into it if you think that's what the market needs. Okay, I'm going to take questions at the end, if you all don't mind. Shweta, I have started on those 5 steps, and Tina will get. So I gave you examples, Tina, on how to reach potential clients, and the retainer part allows you to work from home, specifically in lockdown, because you can do all your meetings on Zoom. Okay, so Advocate Sanjay, Ranpise, and Tina, this is exactly for you. Okay, you gotta reach out online as much as possible. Now the second shift. Okay, the first shift was going past your baggages and trying to reach out to people. So at that time, they're not your clients. They could be clients. You don't know who's going to be your client also. You will just go out and learn about the business problems. Next is acquiring new skills as per the market needs, whether it could be contract drafting or technology laws or arbitration or trademark prosecution, whatever it could be. Okay, and these are all important skills in today's time. Now, what happens? So, if you're talking to fintech startups, you will need to help them with data protection related work. You will need to help them with contract related work. You may need to know a little bit of arbitration. If you're talking to an FMCG brand, you will need to, and it's a early stage. Okay, FMCG brand it is there. So if it's an early stage company, you will need to know about co-founder related agreements, incorporation related advice, tax advice, investment related advice, branding, technology related aspect. If they have any online retail store, then the terms of service for users, refund policy, all of that. So now this is telling you that these are the things I need to know, and I may not have known it, but I can learn it. So that is something that you need to start learning. Okay, now, so you're in touch with the market and you're acquiring these skills. If you don't do this, you face the danger of becoming outmoded or becoming outdated, and you face the danger of running out of work. You will think that this is my ideal client, and you'll keep searching for your ideal client. You not get it. You're compelled to work for cheap sometimes to just survive. You feel that you're very, very talented, but you do not get what you deserve from life. Why? Because you didn't acquire the new skills that the market needs. What happens when you actually change? You can actually offer services to clients irrespective of what the market needs are. I mean, irrespective of what the market conditions are. It's a recession, it's a lockdown. You know that? No, in a lockdown or in a recession, this is still, these kind of businesses are growing. Like pure play technology businesses are really growing still. You can offer services to them and grow. So how do you go about it? You can, to reskill yourself, you could consider taking up any course such as on trademark prosecution, licensing, contract drafting, technology laws, banking, finance, media and entertainment laws, arbitration, etc. You can identify what need it is, and you can actually take up a course on that and actually learn. Now the shift 3. Okay, shift 3 is that you start showcasing your work and build your identity. Most of us are not doing that. We think that we are not good enough or old enough or senior enough or experienced enough to do that. Okay, what does showcasing your work and building your identity mean? So remember that when you're reaching out to potential clients, learning about business, your own credibility should also be there so that people understand who you are. It enables others to trust you as an expert and a thought leader. What are the few things you can do so that you can actually reach out, you can showcase your work? You can write articles online, you can regularly post or publish on LinkedIn. One thing that people make a mistake with on LinkedIn is that they think I need to write some really high funda technical stuff to get traction. The answer is no. You need to interact and engage, okay, and talk about simple business problems. People are not stuck with high funda stuff a lot of the times. They are stuck with an employee left my organization, didn't hand over his laptop, what can I do? An employee breached non-compete and confidentiality and is working with a competitor, has probably shared my next three month vision with the competitor. What do I do? Okay. Or I have a ton of employees leaving prematurely. In the first 3 months, they leave. I confirm them, but they leave. Okay. Now, what can I do to prevent this from happening? Okay. So these are some examples of problems that are there, and of problems on which you can write your 1 or 2 liners. That this is a problem which businesses face. This is a way that it can be solved. You're not giving the whole answer. You're not giving the whole service. You're giving a tip online. Okay. You can later find out more evidence that this has worked and share that later. You may share some news item where this kind of scenario has been highlighted for a company, right? If you were an employment lawyer during lockdown and you saw that companies were firing people, you could have said that, here's a founder's guide to cut employment costs without violating the MHA's order. Okay, and you could keep writing one post on it every day, small post, 4 lines, and a big article, and anytime a change happened, a new big article. Okay, the fourth shift. So now by the time you've come to the fourth shift, what are the 3 things we've talked about? Talking to potential clients on your public wall, on phone. Okay, you can participate in Zoom sessions. You can organize Zoom sessions of business people, and you can say, I am organizing a Zoom session on challenges fintech founders face in their businesses, just to learn about their business. I'm a lawyer, but I want fintech founders to come online. You can come there. Okay, or you can invite Neha, you can invite, say, bank general counsels to say that, what are the challenges they face while working with uh, retained lawyers, while working with, how do they, yeah, what are the challenges they face while giving retainers? Okay, so because your question is, please talk about the bank panel. This is an example I'm saying. I'll get to your questions. Okay, very soon I'll get to every question also. So by now you've looked at talking to clients on your public wall profile on LinkedIn, potential clients. So these are just people in your network. You're commenting on others' posts also. You will be engaging with others. Acquiring new skills is something we've covered. Showcasing your work by writing articles, building your identity, all of that is what we just covered. If you don't do this, see, what's going to happen is that you will depend on others. If you don't have your identity, you depend on others for an opportunity. Prospective clients will always keep asking for affirmation to trust you or your experience. Who are you? What did you do? How much experience you have? How do I know you'll deliver? Okay, now this takes a lot of effort, spends time which you can use to deliver services. And also sometimes many clients will not be convinced enough and your closing rate reduces. But what happens when you actually implement this? Your clients are very clear about your credibility because they've seen, in fact, a lot of clients would come to you because they would have seen your work online, they'll have followed you on LinkedIn. Okay, and they would then speak to you personally only about the precise challenges that they are facing. So it is easier then for you to command and deliver value. Establishing credibility again and again is not a problem. So deals close faster. Okay, and you can consider building a website. You can use free tools. You can use cheap tools like Wix to build a very professional looking website, which is simple. Okay, you can configure newsletters and all of that to enable people to do it. The fourth shift is identification of gateway services, and this is really important. I call these gateway services What are these? These are services that can be offered for free or really cheap to get you a foot in the door. Okay, now these services are not necessarily connected to your area of expertise. This is basically like, I'll give you an example. Okay, posh training. So you may be a contract drafting lawyer or you may be a tax lawyer, but you may still do a free posh training so that you come to know about a new client. They get to trust your legal skills and your expertise. Or trademark registration or watch service, or employment policy implementation training. So you can always have an employment kit which has an employment agreement, company policies, an exit memo for exit formalities. You can have a few things and an employment training. You can give this kit as a gateway service. So what happens is that a lot of companies are likely to need this if you're targeting early stage startups. So early stage startups means, what range am I talking about? I'm talking about companies which have anywhere between 2 people to about 50 people working in the company, turnover ranging from 50 lakhs to about 10 crores or 15 crores. Okay, this is a broad range. I'm saying maybe funded a couple of times max. Okay, so now they do not have the money to afford a proper law firm or build a full-blown in-house legal team. So what do they want? They want lawyers whom they can give retainers to, who can do their specialized work. Okay, so to get to know such people, such clients, you need to have gateway services. So you don't know what they need, but you know that these 4-5 things I have learned, I have skills on these 4-5 things. Now these anybody is likely to need at least one of these services. So I said post training, trademark registration and watch, employment policy related training, payment recovery solutions. There's a very simple payment recovery method that you can help startups with. For example, they can be MSME, especially if they serve big companies. You can get them an MSME registration, implement the notice that all payments are to be made in time, otherwise 3 times interest will be payable on your invoicing, and that itself will increase the rate of recoveries, and add that in the contracts also. Okay, now a lot of, why? Because the big companies, when they have to make when there are defaults in payment, they have to pay thrice the interest. But what's worse is that they have to disclose in their annual report that they have delayed payments to MSMEs. Okay, now that's a big no-no for them. It's like a reputational issue. So there's no, like, court enforcement still takes more time, but this reputational issue ensures that they pay you on time. So this is very easy, free. You can offer it cheaply or free as a gateway service. Okay, legal health checkup. So what's a legal health checkup? This is a service which allows you to meet the founder or the CFO or the business head and really talk to them about the business and run through a list of 20-30 questions that enable them to identify which are the points where their situation is addressed, where they've got full compliance and where it's not. So you basically measure their legal health from a compliance perspective or from an investment perspective. You can call it due diligence preparedness for an investment transaction. You can also do, for a bigger company, you could do a raid preparedness service. If you're a competition lawyer, you can offer a dawn raid prepared, a mock dawn raid. Okay, so that they can identify, so that the company can identify how to prepare for a real one. Or you could do a labor inspector raid, a labor commissioner raid. Okay, if you're an employment lawyer or even otherwise, like, this is a gateway service. So you may not be an employment lawyer, but you can do a labor raid and help them and say that, this is what's going to happen. Are you prepared for it? If people find value in these, they're going to move forward with you. There could be a data protection training for business managers. There could be an arbitration related training for contract managers. Okay, there are many companies which have big contracts with various entities, but they don't have a lawyer inside, and their contracts are standardized. They sell products or services, but they frequently go into dispute when they have to brief outside lawyers. Now you can do a training for contract managers to train them on how to improve their contracts and to help them out in setting out some strategic moves. If this happens, then do this. If this happens, then do this, for the major points of dispute beforehand. So they go into the situation plan. This can be a free service also. Now, what happens with these? You get an inroad for people get to taste the quality of your service, and in future, they will be interested in engaging you. If you don't do this, you don't know about the business problems of a client. You won't know what adds value for a client. You will face more failure, and you will frequently experience directionlessness. Why? Because you would have been sitting with the area that you know about, waiting for a client to come to you, versus going out there, trying new things with clients, getting to know them, because whoever is on the top of the client's mind, they're going to give that lawyer work. And this enables you to know more people and be on top of their mind, and also to be very, very innovative. So when you do this, you are being able to close in clients faster. You also have a repertoire of clients' needs, like what to give them. 5 free services I can offer, and then that's an inroad for me, right? So you will succeed occasionally in closing clients. You may close like 10% of all the people you offer this to in the next month, maybe a few more in the coming months, and occasionally, so there's a closing rate, and even when you fail, you will feel that, no, I did a good job, this person got value, and I learned something. Okay, so is there any example from whom we can get an idea? So there are a lot of lawyers offer employment policy training, employment policies drafts, they make employment agreements, but that's not their core service. They could be doing technology contracts, but they'll do this at a cheaper price, so that just they come to know about the client's business. Posh training is a very big example. You understand, Tina, the anti-sexual harassment law, employee sensitization it has, and it has ICC training, and some people perform a third training, which is management training. So ICC is the body under the act that has been created, that has to be created by the organization, and then there is the managers, which need a separate kind of training. Okay, so Tina, where do you get what? Where do you get the answers? How do you learn these trainings? You'll have to take up a specific course to actually learn it in detail, right? To be able to supply this. Now, I am continuing with this to be able, so that you can see the pathway to 50,000. Okay, where do you learn this? Now, if I get into post training, then we're discussing post training work only then, right? So, and it takes some time to learn it. It may take you 10-15 hours to actually learn it properly. So now the situation, Arun, your question, client requires legal work to be done as turnkey project work. They need all services under one roof. Yeah. So Arun, this is a frequent problem that clients have. And this takes me to the fifth point that I was saying. You need to productify your services through roadmaps. Okay, you need to productify your services through roadmaps and create an onboarding plan. For those of you who will be here till the end, at the end of the session, I'm going to share with you a video where we've discussed what a roadmap looks like. It's a basic roadmap, but you can do it for any kind of service in any kind of area. Okay, and I will take an example of what Arun has said, that the client wants all legal work to be done. Now, this is the kind of situation where we get stuck as lawyers. We don't know what to say, how much to price our services. We are unable to estimate our time, right? So here, this is where you need to break this down into the project, that in this project, what are the specific types of services that the client will need now, what will he need later, okay, and what's the sequence. And you need to you'll have to do some research, some speaking to the client to identify the most important challenges and sequence this out. So the client should not feel you're saying 2 lakhs per month, 20 hours or 200 hours, whatever. You should not be going like arbitrary on this. Okay, you should not be saying that I'll do everything for you, just pay me 50,000 or pay me 1 lakh. No, that's not the way to get the retainer. Because why? Your whole quantification of your time breaks. You might have to work 300 hours in the month, which will exhaust you. Okay, so you don't want to do it like that. Okay, so productification means that you create a roadmap, you identify, okay, first you need, if you want labor related advice, these are the most important registrations you need. This is the agreements you need. If you want tax related aspects related to the project you're talking about, okay, Arun, if there's a turnkey project, if you need tax related work, this is what it's going to be. So you're going to break it down into segments. The client is not going to imagine this for you. Unfortunately, you have to say there are 5 buckets. Each bucket has 4 things that I want to do, and I'll price each item at this much amount. Each line item each bullet point is priced at this much. The whole bucket is this much, and there are 5 buckets you need. Then you can tell the client, what do you need? What do you want to start with? If they say, no, this is not important, these 5 things I don't need, I will bear the commercial risk myself, I don't need your service, then you'll say, okay, then the balance 2 are there, I can start with those. Okay, so that is another way. Now, if you don't productify it, what's going to happen is, as you said, Arun, that client, they want one service under one roof, but they will find it difficult to correlate the value you're providing with the service or the price. So they'll keep asking, I want everything done, I want everything done. Then later, after 2 months, they'll not come to you. After 2 months, you ask them what they've done. They'll say, oh, I have one CA, one CS, one lawyer, I have figured out, and I have hired one person to manage them, and I've done this. Basically, what happens here is a conceptualization failure for the lawyer, that what can I identify that the client needs here. Okay. You can do that. Yeah, Arun, you can do that if you don't have expertise in all the fields. No problem. You have walked this. See, the pricing and the planning has been done by you, and then you can have experts for delivering that. But the problem, the challenge there was to plan at the time the client came to you and he said, I want one service under all roof. I want all services under one roof. Okay. Hariram, this is amazing. What could a tax health checkup do? So you have your CA auditing a company at the end of the year. Okay. And what does he say? What does he or she do? Okay. That's an audit kind of checklist. Now, how do you check somebody's tax health? What are the 10 questions you could have for direct taxes? And you'll talk to the business for that. Okay. You will have a form, a simple questionnaire which says that, okay, how many employees do you have? Do you have consultants? Do you have this? You will figure out the most common things that kinds of payments people make. So if you're doing a TDS health check, if you're doing an annual or quarterly health check, also you return filing check, you will say that, who handles this? Is this filed? Do you check this, that this was filed? Okay. So you can do a health checkup which actually identifies these things by asking questions, okay, to the person. And when you get data which says that, oh, the person in charge doesn't know, the person in charge doesn't do this, then acha, I have an option to do something here. Like, you don't know, sometimes people don't deduct GST on reverse charge basis, though they're supposed to. They've not been caught with it, but they may want to reduce that risk. Okay. Sometimes people don't cut TDS on certain payments, and they may not have been, that may not have gone detected, but you want to do that, right? Because there is a consequence of not doing that. So Hariram, are you being able to follow? Arun, I hope I have answered your question. Pranav, I'll come to your question. Okay. And I'm going to share a list of services, and there's a video inside which there is a roadmap is 5 steps. Okay. Suppose I want to recover money, suppose I want to recover 1 lakh rupees from another person. Okay. Now, if IBC was operational, what would I have done? If I have a check, what would I say? Step 1, check bounce. Step 2, do I have enough facts to even file a criminal complaint, a case of cheating, or at least a general diary? I might use that step to, if I have genuine facts or to that effect, I might use that step to actually enable to make the other side feel that they have a big risk of having to defend themselves in a criminal case. There's a risk of arrest, so they may want to settle it. Step 3 could be IBC proceedings, or IBC proceedings could be an earlier step. So you will look at it like a sequence, that this is a roadmap. The remaining is formatting. Okay. Now, if you say that, let's assume, I'll make you make a roadmap maybe in 10 minutes. Let's assume you go to a startup entrepreneur who says that I have a company, and I need some legal help because I'm working with my co-founder, and I also have an employee, and we need to ensure we are going to be raising funds very soon. So I need a roadmap for this situation. Okay. So you can make a roadmap on this. Pranav, you should make a roadmap on this, and Kiran, anybody, feel free to make a roadmap on this. Okay. Now, a quick so case study on how can you make this journey, right? So I give you examples of students who started reaching out to startups in their city, and you can simply Google startups. Like, if I share my screen, I can show you, like, name a city you're from, okay, or name a town you're from. If you're from Gwalior, Indore, wherever, Google the startup in your city, find out some of the startups that are there. Surat, okay, Divyakant. So Kurukshetra, Pranav. So everywhere, okay, you can look at 2 places. One is Startup India and another is Google. Startups Dehradun. Like this, you will find lot of. You can look for startups, SMEs, both. Okay. Startup Uttarakhand. Okay, 3 recognized startups. Let me see what are these. Startup India has many startups named. I might find names here. So I can look like this and find out names. I'm getting Startup India में भी recognition है उनका भी. Okay, so I found so many. Right? These are, it's also telling me what is in service sector, what is in manufacturing. Okay, now what will I do if I am in your place? What will I do here? If I will see sector wise. If I have something unique for manufacturing, I will talk to them. I will do that. Otherwise, I'll club all service sector startups and I'll say that, okay, hi, I'm a lawyer. Um, I can write to them. I can look them up on Google Places. I can look the founders up on LinkedIn also. You know the names of the founders, right? This seems to be a founder's name, most likely. So you can write to them on LinkedIn. You can say, I'm a lawyer and I know that startups are having a lot of challenges at the moment during COVID. And I'm happy to speak to you once and give you 20 hours or 10 hours of free service in the next month. Okay. Why are you saying that? You're saying that so that you can help them and you can learn about business. It's important to learn these things. There are two kinds of learning. One learning is about the business of the startup so that you can start offering services to similar startups. The second learning is to identify the legal skills that you need to acquire. So if you find out that they need a contract, specific kind of contract, then you will have to learn the skills to identify to offer that. That's the second learning. So first learning here is that you have to reach out to them. Okay, so can the people, those of you, Kurukshetra, Bangalore, Pune, Kerala, Haridwar, everywhere, can you please search for startups in your city? Find out at least 5 startups. Okay, after we are done with this session, you're going to write to them. You're going to offer them 10 hours of free legal help. Okay, and you will look them up on LinkedIn, you will look them up wherever you want to, on Google Places. Okay, and you will, even if you're a law student, you will say, I want to help startups at the moment. Okay, and I want to see I know that you're facing trouble in COVID. It's been difficult, so I'm not going to charge anything for the first month. We'll see later what you can do. Don't worry about it. I will still add value in the first month. That is one of the ways to go about it. Andhra Pradesh, where? So I am asking, I made you search by location, but see if you later on specialize in an area, unless you are restricted to the courts of that area, which is usually in dispute resolution, you are not territorially limited anymore, because someone in Kurukshetra can have a Zoom session with someone in Bangalore, right? So anyway, can you all please find out 5 startups in your city? And Omran, you've asked me the question at the perfect time. You said how to pitch to companies to provide retainer work. The answer is don't pitch for a retainer. Okay, your first step, the step is to get a foot in the door. Provide a gateway service. I told you some of the free services. The example I gave right now is like a foot in the door. It is a gateway service. 10 hours of free legal help. Okay. If they don't like your advice, can there be legal implications? If you give wrong advice, then there can be legal implications, but legal negligence is very hard to prove. Lawyers have differing standards. So don't give something that is outrageously wrong. Like, professional negligence is not measured by a very low standard. It's got a very high standard to establish it. So it's fine. Like, if you make a mistake, or you have a difference of opinion, which often happens between lawyers, that doesn't make your advice wrong advice. Can emails asking for work tantamount to solicitation? So the thing is that the client has to request things from you, right? But if you reach out and talk to a client about their business, that's fine. You say, I want to help you out, that's okay, right? When you say, give me legal work, problem. Okay, Pranav, please get back to me, feel free. It's not advertising, Tina, it's one-on-one, right? You if you spend ad, or there was, if you take a Google ad and put it and pay money for it, and that, then it becomes advertising. If you're talking to one person, you're saying that, I'm going to give you 10 hours of free legal help. I want to talk once and figure out how I can help you. Would you benefit from something like this? Okay. And do a little bit of search on their product. Okay, email ID say, just don't shoot out, see what product they offer. Okay, so after we saw the names of the startups, you go to their website, see what they do, so that you talk like someone who's informed and not like a telemarketer. Okay. Uh, okay, so I hope you all are finding at least 3-4 startups you can reach out to. Can you join India filing type means what? You can join India filing and do work for them. You can apply to them for work. Okay, now I'm going to explain how does your legal work translate into a retainer, and then I've got to share the links for the free videos and the 20 services you can offer startups. Okay, so there are specific kinds of work for which people will want to give you a retainer. Okay, when you deliver the first assignment successfully, a client is likely to give you more work. Your first assignment, Sanjay, that's a nice one, huh? Very nice one. Your first assignment, so everybody, was a gateway service that was cheap or dirt cheap or free. Second assignment, if they like it, is going to translate into paid work. Some of your clients are going to want repeat service. Some of them are going to refer you to others. You must proactively ask them that, please do recommend my, if you're happy with me, you can recommend me to your friends. But they will anyway recommend if they're happy with you. And some of them will give you more work. Okay. So with that, you start getting more work. Now, there are certain kinds of work which is highly suited to translating into a retainer. I'll give you an example. Okay. High volume of repetitive work. For example, I need employment contracts, consultancy agreement, internship letters, different kinds of similar contracts signed again and again, and I need at least 10 of them every month. I need 20 legal notices to be issued for breach of one contract or the other. Some clients say we need a follow-up service where you have to call. So the lawyers say, I don't want to call up anybody. I'm not a telecall, but you can have an intern, a trained secretary, anybody to make the call. But question is, high volume of repetitive work is something that the client will say, I don't want to do this in-house. Let me just outsource it. Okay. So that is something that's capable of outsourcing. A lot of contract drafting work capable of getting outsourced. Work that requires specialization in a particular subject or a territory or a forum. Somebody had asked me questions about how to get a bank panel. So you can get a panel for representing a bank before DRT, right? Under for unsecured loan defaults and SARFAESI enforcement. Okay, so that's a kind of work or you can get a retainer for defending an FMC, a consumer facing company in the consumer forum in, let's say, district forum in Delhi, district forum in Mumbai. Okay, this is an example of what kind of work you can have a retainer for. So this is a mix of specialization in a subject is consumer forum, so consumer law, territory, Mumbai or Delhi or wherever the district forum is the district forum. There's also repetitive work because a company which is facing a lot of consumer matters only will want to give a retainer in that forum. Okay. The other scenario is where there is a reduction in cost of business uncertainty. So suppose I have, imagine a situation where employees are regularly breaking the employment contract. Okay. Now, the thing is that if this situation is not enforced, then the business owner will find that this is repetitively happening throughout and this will increase. So the contract will lose having any value. So what he decides to do is that he says to a lawyer that I'm going to pay you 50,000, and you take care of this beforehand. When he knows that this problem could arise, he says all contract enforcement work, all breach of employment contract matters, you will take over. Okay, and let's say the company is incorporated in Delhi, and you have office in Delhi, and your arbitration or whatever everything is your office is in Delhi. Okay, so Delhi based employment breach work, the lawyer gets what he has to do. He may have to issue up to 10 hours of work per month, let's say, and 20,000 retainer. So he may have to draft legal notices. He may have to enforce up to, or he may have to represent himself in court if needed through follow-up actions. So he may limit that 2 court appearances or 2 plaints. It can be anything, right? So he will limit number of hours, number of matters where I represent. Gurgaon ka matter, if you represent in a retainer, and you're a Delhi lawyer, the costs start to work out against you. So you have to make sure that you scope your retainer properly. But the thing is that this reduces the cost of business uncertainty. The business risk that employees will not follow my contract and no action will be taken against them is closed out in advance because I've given a retainer to a lawyer and he's going to handle this. So that's the kind of service for which a lawyer can get a retainer. The other situation, and this is the most common situation, especially when you are, let's say, serving a startup, okay? High cost of supervision for an internal lawyer. Now, if I have an internal lawyer, say, whom I'm paying 30,000 rupees, let's say startup can afford 30,000 rupees. So it may be difficult for a untrained fresher to work at, okay, and that's who you get for 30,000. If you can pay 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, you can get someone senior. A startup can't afford it. Okay. Now, what do you need to have your whole team? They can't afford a full-blown in-house legal team, right? And they can't have a full-timer lawyer because that person will not be skilled enough. You will have to supervise it. The person will make mistakes. Instead, they say that, okay, I have these 5 kinds of work. I have a lot of employment-related work, some IP-related work, investment-related work is there, ESOPs-related work is there. Frequently have internet-related contracts to do. I have once in a while there's an arbitration issue. These are or sometimes we have to work on government contracts because our team is trying to get some government tender. So 6-7 types of work. They are like, okay, you give us 10 hours, we'll pay you 30,000, or 15 hours, 30,000 we'll pay you. So all our legal work then is taken care of. Okay, so that's an example because there's a variety of too many things that is needed, but in lesser amount of time. So multiple areas of expertise. The startup will want that, let me give this to somebody who is outside. So for example, we have a course called Diploma in Business Laws for in-house counsels. Now this is actually very useful for consulting, for serving startups in this situation, that they can outsource the work to you. And if you are an in-house counsel and you're working in-house in a big company, then it's very similar kind of work that you will be doing. Okay. Now with this, the shifts come to an end. Today we promised that we will be discussing a pathway, some steps on how you can start earning 50,000 or more per month through independent retailers. Now what you have to see is that, it wasn't about the maths of 50,000. The question is not about the maths. Most of us are stuck with the fact that, how will I get clients? Why will a client give me work? Okay, what services will I offer them? Do I need to wait for 5 years, 6 years, or train with a senior? Those are the questions that were stopping us from thinking that how is this maths going to work, right? So we have addressed that we have discussed that this can be shifted if you make these 5 new shifts that we just spoke about. Okay, now what is the next step for you? You have to identify. So the first step for you would be to identify who your ideal client would be, what services you can provide, and how you can learn from them. Look for startups. Okay, offer this that I spoke to you. Get back to me later afterwards. If you need any inputs, I'll share my number with you. And for the links, I just offered to you 2 things, right? So now what's the next step? Those of you who want a personalized guidance from me on what you can do and how you can build your practice, what skills you need to get these retainers, and you want this in person to identify specific areas, can use this link that I've shared on chat, okay, to block a consultation, because you may want to go further into it and identify, okay, what are the skills I want to acquire? What's the roadmap for me? How soon can I acquire them? Okay, so all those things, we will have a personal 30-minute session to discuss this. Okay. The second thing is that I promised to you a link for a list of services that you can provide and some videos on how to do that. So that's the second link that I have just posted on chat. Okay, this link is specifically for you on chat. You get some materials here. I'll try to also later on add a sample roadmap for you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Very happy to have all of you here. I'm happy to now take questions and also receive your feedback. Okay. So I may stop the recording and the broadcast, but please tell